Welcome, everybody, to the Soul of the Unexplained, and a very happy holidays to all of you. I am your host, Jim Kelgard. That's right, Jim with two M's. Why? Well, because I'm just kind of weird like that, ain't I? But anyway, as always, we have an awesome all-star rock star cast that are joining me today for this year-end review of the year that has been 2025. And so real quickly, just to introduce and welcome my partners in crime here, we're going to start with the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Jonn Stratton. How you doing, Johnny?
I'm doing fantastic, getting through this holiday season.
Crazy, crazy times, isn't it?
Always.
Right on. And my favorite, absolute favorite Denver Broncos fan, the team which are currently sitting firmly atop the AFC West, might I add. And Jonn is kind enough to join us while his Broncos are playing right now. So, Jonn, tip of the
Right.
hat to you to say thank you. But
Yes.
how are you doing today, buddy?
I hope you appreciate this sacrifice, Jim with two M's.
I do. I do, Brother Wafer. Brother Wafer, yes, I does.
Like I said before, I'm doing my best not to look at my phone, or I think I might just turn it off. I want to avoid any spoilers.
Yes, indeed. And joining us is our very dear friend. Speaking of legends, we have the great Jeff Freeman from the J Free 906 podcast joining us once again to help us recap this amazing year that has been known as 2025. Jeff, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic, and it has been an awesome year with the shows that we've covered this year and Skinwalker Ranch and all of that. I know we're going to be talking a little bit about PhenomeCon. I was not there this year, so I'll have to go to what all you have shared. And in Mr. Nyberger's realm, I am also here instead of watching the Lions play the Steelers. So, and that's happening in the other room. I am trying not to listen. If
Don't
you
take
do
your
hear a
headphones off.
shout, yeah, if you do hear a shout from a woman in the other room screaming something good about the Steelers, well, that would be my wife, and she's watching
Well,
the game.
Well, me being the prognosticator of the bunch here, I'm going to just call it right now. The Raiders are not going to beat the Texans today, and we're going to still be sitting firmly in second position for the draft coming up for the NFL. So my Raiders season was over, what, 10 weeks ago at least?
Bummer.
But anyhow, so thank you for joining us, everyone. And folks, we thought that a great place to start would be to recap the year, seeing as how all of us that are here on the Soul of the Unexplained are proud members of the Skinwalker Ranch Insider community. We thought that we would kick off our year-end review with The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which in 2025 wrapped up their sixth season of the docuseries on the History Channel. Gentlemen, we've been fortunate enough. We've had Caleb Bench on the podcast a couple times this year, and we had Chris Bartell and Caleb the last time together, which was kind of a really cool 1-2 punch for the security of both past and present on Skinwalker Ranch. But as always, there's cool stuff that is going down there on this bizarre 512-acre piece of real estate in northeastern Utah known as Skinwalker Ranch. And there were some pretty cool things that we got to see this season. And one of the big ones was the follow-up on the remains of this creature that was discovered in the Dry Gulch Creek, going back to the summer of 2023 is when they discovered it. But we got the results of the DNA that they had tested on the remains of this creature. And if you remember, folks, the way we saw it wrap up in season 5 was that they'd taken the jawbone to a biologist by the name of Ben Woodruff, based out of the Hutchings Institute Museum right here in Utah. And Ben is a fantastic biologist, really, really cool guy, really knows his stuff. And there weren't any of us, I think, and I'm safe in saying this, that had Direwolf on our bingo card as season 5 started, let alone season 6. And so we were trying to figure out, really, what are the odds of the DNA results coming back indicating anything, that would be out of the ordinary? And as a matter of fact, we did get those DNA results, and the results, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, was something like 89% of the DNA was uncatalogued or unknown, and then the remaining percentage was basically unknown. Was it a gray wolf or timber wolf or something like that? So really kind of extraordinary. If that's not enough to get people to scratch their heads and look at the evidence of how close of an identical match nearly that this jawbone was to at least being like a juvenile dire wolf, right? And if it's not an actual dire wolf, a species that went extinct over 10,000 years ago, allegedly, and there are no known wolf populations according to the Utah Department of Wildlife Resources, and that's been verified by both Roger and myself. The DWR in the state of Utah says there is no known wolf populations in the state of Utah. Now, that's not to say that some of them can't stray in, because that's just the nature of nomadic creatures like wolves. But they always, they tend to stay together in communities. So I thought that was one of the big things was, wow. If nothing else, I think what we're looking at here with these DNA results and the dire wolf is that, if nothing else, it's a descendant of the dire wolf that has never been cataloged or seen before, and that seems pretty significant. Jeff, how about you? What are your thoughts on how the way that particular aspect played out this season on Skinwalker Ranch?
Well, first of all, I thought it was really interesting that they continued that, because so oftentimes, we see something pop up that's very interesting or very mysterious, but then we don't hear anything more about it. With this one, they did follow up. And hats off to Mr. Woodruff, because he is right up there, top of his field in this sort of thing. So impressive there. And I love the fact that they do that they bring in these experts in their fields to analyze this sort of thing. I know a lot of people kind of poo-pooed the whole idea of dire wolf. Come on, you got to be kidding me. You guys are on a stretch. But then as you see the details and the data come in, it's like, oh, geez, it really could be, or at least one that is not supposed to be here anymore.
Exactly.
So I thought that was really, really significant. The question is, as we all will go on to the next level of this, is why? Where did it come
Why?
from? Why
Yeah.
is it there? So, I mean, but yeah, I'm really was really impressed by the fact that not only did they follow up on it, but the follow up was good information, good data to rely upon.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. It really was, and I actually I've been following this company, Colossal
Yeah.
Biosciences, that are the company that did the DNA, and they're also the ones that did the cloning that was kind of the controversial for some people, where they've got the two or three direwolf pups and whatnot. And but it was really cool, and that was again one thing that, if you had told me when this docuseries began of something that I would not think would be likely we'd ever revisit in any meaningful capacity, would have been that. John, how about you? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not convinced it's even at all related to a direwolf per se. It's because they're not that closely related to gray wolves, but it's clearly an anomalous wolf type creature. And if this were, like a wolf that had, Colorado has released wolves. They started doing that a few years ago. If they had released one and a pack of them had wandered over into Utah, great. But if you did
Mhm.
the DNA, it's going to come back. Here's exactly what it is. It's
Yeah.
going to be 100% match with a gray wolf or whatever it is. You're not going to
Mhm.
get 10% match, 11%, and then the rest is, I don't know.
Right.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So it's clearly anomalous. It's some wolf type creature that no one would expect to be there. So what the heck is it?
Well said. Well said. Johnny, any thoughts from you on that particular aspect of it?
Yeah. So, um, to sorry, I'm a little bit under the weather, so you'll hear my voice is a little weird and I cough sometimes. Uh, but no, the stuff with the direwolf was actually kind of on my bingo card. But then again, in fairness, wolves of unusual size, as inconceivable as that might be, is always on my business. It's always on my
You
bingo card.
you have an experience or two regarding that, right?
Without getting too much detail,
Yeah. Right.
let's just say when I saw the images And not that I, perhaps have seen more than the general public or the show have seen, of course. But when I saw the images, I went, "Oh yeah, that's believable. I understand that. I've seen things like that, perhaps." But doesn't shock me whatsoever that they would have that. Now, the natural resources in Utah saying that there's no wolves there, I take that with a real grain of salt. Because
Yep.
with my experiences dealing with DNR in a couple of states around me, they've made claims that there are no brown bears, there are no water moccasins, no venomous snakes, no XYZ spiders, you name it, lots of things.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the local residents are like, are you kidding? I deal with them all the time. They're here.
Yeah.
So saying that a wolf, which is a migrating creature, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
they're going to kind of be everywhere. What throws off
Yeah.
the characteristics that we're talking about of, normal wolves is that DNA showing as, what is it, 86% unidentifiable.
Yeah.
So that, either we're finding another type of wolf creature that's really hard to detect that might have characteristics of less pack mentality and more solo provider type mentalities. We don't know. We don't have enough data to suggest what it is. So until we do have data, it's anomalous. And that's just what we have to look at it as. That's probably my favorite thing from this season, is to have the suspected direwolf incident. And Ben did a phenomenal job. I don't know if it's
Yes.
public, and if you weren't at PhenomeCon, you might not have the chance to see it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But he did a really, really good breakdown, side-by-side comparisons of detailed images he took of
Mhm.
different bone structures of the wolf from the ranch, 2
Mhm.
dire wolves, and then other wolf creatures. And, he suggested, based off of the jaw specifically, that the characteristics of the jaw are very much more so like a dire wolf as a juvenile.
Yep. And
So
the other cool thing about that the presentation that Ben did at PhenomeCon was he actually had several of those examples on the table that people could come and take a look at, and I was really, really impressed. And as you said, Johnny, Ben's presentation was, for me, was for probably one of my top 5 favorite of the PhenomeCon presentations this year. I mean, I so hope that they bring him back next year, because he was not only really well prepared, but just his personality. I mean, there was no way you were sleeping through his presentation. He was that
it
engaging, just a
hands
great
down was one of
personality.
the greatest presentations I've seen of all time, period, of any
Yep.
topics.
I agree.
Wow.
It was
I'm
fantastic.
sorry I
Yeah.
missed it.
I'm
was
really
so
sorry
good.
you missed that one. And,
Yeah.
I hope that someone from National Geographic, Discovery, History Channel, personally, I'd prefer National Geographic, gets him involved with some kind of TV show, some kind of series,
Yeah.
because he is so fun, such a personality. He is
Yep.
amazing.
Yep. He would definitely be perfect for that, and I would watch anything that he's in,
Me
truly.
too. 100%.
He's that good. Right on. So, moving on, relating to Skinwalker Ranch, the other big thing, of course, was the what we were previously calling the cone, right? The cone zone, this anomalous area in the triangle. And they've determined that it's now, they've kind of changed the nomenclature a little bit, and they're now calling it the bubble. And that's because it appears to be a perfectly laid out perimeter there on the ranch. And they're still seeing a lot of anomalous uh, data returns when they're doing their various experiments. They did more drone experiments, of course, and a lot of the same kind of results. We also had a lot of progress that was made with the drilling, which I thought was kind of cool. And just kind of to tie everything up with Skinwalker Ranch, uh, I'm really excited to see what comes in the next season. And we do know that they just recently finished wrapping up the filming of what should become season 7 of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And also got to give a shout out to there's some new faces that are on the team, specifically Mr. Chris Roberts, right? The archaeologist that they now have on staff there at the ranch. And what a great addition to the team. I mean, Chris, we had such a great opportunity to meet Chris and get to hang out with him a little bit at PhenomeCon this year, and just what a cool guy. I mean, not that anybody at the ranch isn't cool. We're all fortunate enough to be able to have had opportunities to hang out with the guys many times. But Chris, I really like the skill set and the expertise that he brings to the team. Um, Jeff, your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on Mr. Chris Roberts joining the team?
Well, it kind of goes with what I said earlier about bringing experts in their field into this, and I think he is definitely one of them. Bringing archaeology into it was just a have to do. It was a must have, because of the fact that they are digging in the ground and they're looking for evidence of all kinds of high strangeness, whether it be, an orb flying by, or it might be some kind of piece of evidence in the ground, and he delivered by finding quite a few different really interesting things throughout the season. So again, I my hats off to them because and it kind of goes with some of the other types of shows like this where you could have a guy out there digging with a shovel looking for something, but when you're bringing in the experts in fields and you're bringing in technology in all this, to help the investigation along, I think that is paramount. And these guys are hitting it right off. They're hitting it a home run with this, I think. And Chris Roberts, I mean, you listen to the guy, and I didn't know his background, anything about him until actually you guys had informed me about where he had been and how long he's been doing this, and he's the man for Utah in the area there, when
Mhm.
it comes to archaeology. So, hats off to them. Great
Yeah.
addition to the team. Can't see I hope he's there again, in season 7. I hope we see him again. But I think that, they'd be missing a great opportunity if they did not have him there, personally.
Well said. Well said. Johnny, your thoughts on the man we know as Chris Roberts?
Yeah. Well, pretty much like you said, he's got a great presence about him. He's a funny guy too. But
Yeah.
I from what I see on camera, he's all business. So little subtle humor here and there, but he's a great addition to the team. And what I love about the Skinwalker Ranch, investigation as a whole is they're not afraid to get a broad spectrum of specialists in there to look at things from different angles. And like we talked about with the drone experiments with repeating things, the key term of repeatable data is something we keep having coming up with it, which is fantastic.
Could not agree more. And as both of you have just been saying, both you, Jeff, and Johnny, the one thing that really I think sets the secret of Skinwalker Ranch apart is those experts that they have that are subject matter experts. Really, very impressive credentials. We got people like Jim Royston, right? Jim and Sam DeRizzo from Omnitech. Jim was working with the International Space Station, right? And that's not something that just any regular average person gets to do. You, of course, have Dr. Travis Taylor, multiple PhDs, astrophysicist, optical, physicist. I mean, just there's not anybody on that team that isn't a complete and total rock star in every sense of the word. And I think that really comes through when you watch the docuseries. That's like the one thing is that they're they still have the ability to think outside the box and far as coming up with the kinds of experiments, but there's a reason, and they're obviously pushing to get repeatable results, and they're getting them. And that's one of the things that has kept me for so long, just absolutely glued to what happens with this particular docuseries, because I think what we see going on at Skinwalker Ranch, it may be a different kind of disclosure, but it does obviously tie in with the whole UAP thing, which we'll segue into next. But if there is to be any kind of meaningful disclosure, I see it coming more soon and more quickly from someplace like Skinwalker Ranch, where it's a private enterprise, where it doesn't have all of that governmental red tape and stuff that we see happening elsewhere in with all this extraordinary new information that comes out. So that's kind of where I'm at with Skinwalker Ranch, and I'm I'm always encouraged by what we see happen at the end of every season of The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And I am very hopeful and optimistic of where it goes from here, and really anxious to see what we get to see in season 7. So, real quickly before we move on, closing thoughts on The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And Jonn, we'll start with you.
I think I'm losing you. I need to. I'll be right back.
Oh,
Wait,
I
it
see.
would
I
not
see how it
be.
is. In other words, the Broncos are on the goal line.
No. Like, every time we start recording,
He
my
does that
router
every
starts
time.
acting up. So I don't know what it is. I'll be
It
right back.
happens. Well, I'll interject here real quick while we wait for Jonn. You know, it wouldn't be an episode of Solo the Unexplained without us having some issues. You know,
That is
last
true.
episode, all of my technology shut off at one point, so you know, it's part of us.
Par for the course. That's right.
You know, something that you were teasing there with what you're talking about, Jimm, is, you know, the investigation at Skinwalker Ranch is, you know, a perfect sort of private and public mix of investigation. And what we see on the television is not all that goes on. You know, there is investigation year round, but also behind the scenes, there's countless experts that are interjecting and helping process data and looking at things from all different views. So whereas we only get to see these core guys on the team that are on the show, for every one that you see on the show, there's a handful of other people that are helping do the same tasks. And
Yeah.
sometimes it goes without a lot of thanks too. But we, you know, for us that do know some of these people, we're always very appreciative of them, and they're awesome too. I wish they could be on camera.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we didn't give a shout out to another rock star on the team, Mr. Pete Kelsey, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we're
I
talking one
love
of
Pete.
we all love Pete, and just the fact that he brings so much to the table with his imaging technology, with lidar, and his understanding of surveying and all that kind of stuff. I mean, you could not ask for a better asset to have on the ranch to help get some of these this data that they're capturing. And some of the best, you know, jaw-dropping moments have been courtesy of the technology that Pete has brought onto the ranch. And so I don't think we can ever overstate the importance of Pete Kelsey kind of being a member there of the Skinwalker Ranch team. And you know, it's just further testament to how awesome and thorough their investigation is. So I could not agree with you more, Johnny. Just a great operation from start to finish. Jeff, how about you? Closing thoughts and remarks on Secret of Skinwalker Ranch?
Well, first of all, I'm really glad that you know, they not only do an experiment once, but sometimes they'll do it a couple of times. And in this case, like right off in season or episode 1, they brought in Irene Radcliffe, who was with Faro, doing the terrestrial laser scanner, and she came out, you know, because we saw that's where we kind of went from the cone to the dome, or to the bubble, was
Bubble.
with the advent of, or the addition of, that particular piece of equipment. Then she comes out and she works for Faro, so she knows this equipment inside and out, and she comes out and does the experiment, gets the same results. So I mean, how, you know, so you know, she still gets that dome. But I think the great things for me that were still a question, but were definitely investigated to the nth degree, was that the fact that the actual triangle area is an anomalous region. You know, it interfered with the GPS on multiple different types of equipment,
Right.
including the helicopter. It interferes with, you know, so much more. I mean, I can't even think. I'm trying to think in my head real quick, all the different pieces of equipment that it was messing with. But just about every piece of technology they threw into that area, it had a problem with. Even even the drone not being able to penetrate the barrier at some point, and he was trying to drive it in there and it wouldn't go. So that was Jim Royston doing that, and then of course Pete Kelsey. I mean, who doesn't, like you said? I mean, he brought a whole new level to the investigation at Skinwalker Ranch. So I want to see a little bit more on that. You know, if they can. Right now, we know that that area is got a problem, or got things going on there, and it's causing problems, I should say, but we don't know why yet. Okay, so I'd like to see more on that in season 7, and then also the what's in the mesa, and that those two areas there are really key to me. What's inside that mesa? We know they got that green gelatin substance that was in there,
Right.
some kind of a organic material, plant matter that's been burned. So there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, and I hope they can further get inside that mesa, or at least drill into it better or whatever, get some data, get some crunch some numbers on data inside there to see what it is. And then also try to get a little bit more on the triangle area and why, what's causing the issues, if they can narrow that down. So I'm really excited to see season 7 come on. I know
Yeah.
you guys probably have a little bit more information because you hear things when you're at PhenomeCon and all that, but John's like, no, I didn't.
Not really. No one tells
No,
us anything, man.
Well,
Nope,
I know.
I wish they would. We ask,
Yeah.
but they don't tell us. They're like,
to
sorry.
their credit,
can't-
they honor those NDAs
Yep.
like they should. So
I know.
Yeah,
But no,
it's
just that-
frustrating.
just that, yeah. But you like when you were there and listening to Ken Woodruff's presentation, and the fact that he was giving you stuff that we didn't see on the show. That's the kind of thing I meant
Sure.
by that. So I really want to see more investigation on those two areas, and then see what new comes out. I know that Mike Owen and I, doing every single episode as we do, reviewing every one of them, we dig deeper into them. We were getting our socks knocked off on the very first one, all the way through every episode of the
Right.
season. So what's going to happen now? What's going to come in 7? I'm really excited for it.
Yeah. Amen, brother. And Jonn, how are the Broncos doing?
I don't know. I'm telling you, I checked my router before we started, and it was
I've got to check my
perfect.
router. Look, what's the score?
I am not checking the score. I don't want to know. I have the game recording. I will watch it when we're done. I don't want to know. But no,
I don't know how the Lions are doing either. I haven't looked.
You haven't heard?
No, I haven't heard any yelling.
Nothing from the other room. No. But speaking of the ranch, kind of what I want to see in season 7, I guess, is what we're talking about, because I missed part of it.
Mhm.
I want to see more physics, more physics experiments. I definitely want to know what's in the mesa, but by far the most fascinating aspect to me is the dome, the bubble, or as I call it, the hemispherical region of high WTF. What happens in that part of the ranch makes no sense at all.
Reality throws the rule book out the window.
It does. What they're seeing should not be happening. And they're not making this up for television. A lot of people think this is made up, or they're, whatever. It's not scripted. They're not making this stuff up. This is real. They are, and we know this because we've talked to them off the show. We know these guys. Their minds are blown. They're like, we don't know what this is. So when you have stuff like lasers just stopping in midair, or the one color of laser stopping and then beginning again.
Yeah,
or
that was crazy.
Yeah, right. That's
the time anomalies.
That was the
everything, yeah.
first episode where I almost like just jumped off of my couch screaming WTF.
Same.
Because there's been a lot of crazy episodes with some really amazing stuff, but that one was like, oh my gosh, what are we watching?
I still remember that episode. I literally jumped off the couch and yelled, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, because that can't be happening. It literally cannot be happening.
Travis says as much all the time.
Yeah,
exactly.
That
don't effing happen.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like, we've heard him talk about this in person, and they're confused. They have no clue what's going on. And so, then you get the time differences. What's causing the time differences? Or what sometimes, what appears to be spatial differences, like the LiDAR going through that region appearing to echo from much further away than the LiDAR can even reach.
Or
something
the helicopters flying over and saying we're directly over it, and the people that have the other perspective are like, no,
right.
You're several dozens of yards away. And camera's like, no, we're right on top of it. And you can see the image directly from below the helicopter, and sure enough, it looks like it, but you look at it from the other perspective, and it's like, no, you guys are a good 100 yards or more away.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's bizarre. So you got it, you nailed it
Yeah,
on
that's what I want.
the spatial anomalies, definitely.
I want to see more physics. I don't know what else they could do, but I know for sure that Travis will come up with some cool things to test, right? So, I wish I knew what they were planning on doing, but
We all do.
But I am dying to find out. But yeah, I just want to know what that bubble is, what the dome is, because it shouldn't even be there. Like,
Absolutely.
Not only what is it, what's causing it?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Why in this part of the world, and why is it? There's a stationary dome of something over the ranch. It's there. I mean, whether people want to believe it or not, there's something there. It may be intermittent, like sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not, but it's there. It's provably there. So what in the world is it? What's causing it? I'm dying to know.
And we say this thing all the time, and that is, if you're somebody who thinks that this show is all fake and nonsense and they're just, sensationalizing everything, you're clearly not watching the show. And if you are watching the show, you're not paying attention, because there is no way that you can actively pay attention to this show and not see what we're seeing, because they're gathering the data, they are being led by the data, and that's one of the things that separates The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch from every other kind of show that is out there. And as Jonn said very eloquently, we have the privilege of knowing these gentlemen in person, and some of them we have very close connections with. We know the character and the integrity that every single member of this team has, from Brandon Fugel on down. And you could not ask for a more competent, a more transparent, and just a more cohesive team than the team that Brandon Fugel has assembled out at Skinwalker Ranch. And I, for one, am just absolutely excited, as I always am, to see what is going to be coming up in the next season. And hopefully, we'll have some more details. Usually, Brandon Fugel is the one that will make the announcement on when we can expect the next season to air. But we can probably safely presume that it will be happening sometime in the spring. Usually, it's between. I think this last year it actually got a late start. I think it was in June this last year is when the last season aired. Whereas previously, it usually starts in April, end of April, beginning of May. But either way, I'm looking forward to it. And folks, if you're not aware of the Skinwalker Ranch Insider program, just want to do a quick plug for that. Go to www.skinwalker-ranch.com/insider to learn about the Skinwalker Ranch Insider program. It's a great way that you can stay connected to the ranch and be part of one of the greatest online communities. And it kind of turns all of us into our own investigators in a lot of cool ways. But the Skinwalker Ranch Insider program is one of the best investments I've ever made. And there's two options to join it. You can do a month to month, which I believe is $10 or $12 or something like that. Or you can go for a yearly subscription and end up saving a little bit. Ends up being where you basically are getting 2 months for free compared to going to monthly. And you get a free t-shirt if you sign up for a year, an exclusive Skinwalker Ranch Insider t-shirt, which sadly I do not possess because I do the monthly thing. But I cannot say enough good things about the Skinwalker Ranch Insider community. As I said, all four of us here, Jeff, Jonn, Johnny, and myself, and Roger, we're all members of the Skinwalker Ranch Insider community and have been since the beginning. And so if you want to learn more about it, it's a great way to keep an eye on the ranch 24/7, 365 days a week. You have access to real-time cameras that are on the property. And there's been a lot of times when the insiders have been the ones that have caught anomalous events happening on camera that have been really interesting to follow up on. And the team does, special video conferences and stuff like that that insiders have access to. Great way to get some behind the scenes information and greater clarification on some things that may maybe didn't make sense to you in some of the episodes, but definitely check out the Skinwalker Ranch page, which again, www.skinwalker-ranch.com/insider. Very, very, very much worth the time and the effort. So let's segue into that, and let's talk about the other kind of the big fish here in the pond, and that, of course, would be the age of disclosure and the topic of UAP disclosure. And we'll also roll into this the congressional hearing that we had actually shortly after PhenomeCon, in fact, a few days after PhenomeCon, where George Knapp, among others, testified in front of Congress regarding their knowledge of UAPs and whatnot. So some of the big things that have happened this year, gentlemen, regarding the UAP topic is we had the congressional hearing. And again, it was George Knapp was one of the people that was called up. And we also had, let's see, who were they? And John, you can help me with this. There was Nucitelli and Dylan Borland. And I know I'm forgetting one guy. I'm horrible at this. I'm sorry. But
Me too. I can't think of it.
But there was some interesting moments. For me, the big moment that came out of that congressional hearing was when one of the representatives asked the panel of witnesses that were there if they had by chance the names of anybody that they knew were actively participating in these alleged cover-up programs, and kind of without missing a beat, George Knapp just kind of did a quick, looked to his side and said, Glenn Gaffney, CIA. And that was kind of like a big wow moment for me. Any other moments that any of you from the congressional hearing, Johnny, any moments that stood out to you in that particular hearing?
Well, the only real major thing that stuck out to me is just how much people feel uncomfortable talking about this stuff and the safety factor. Um, I think was it Dylan Borland that looked like he had someone with a gun to his head basically the entire
He
time.
he looked absolutely terrified the entire time. Yes.
There was I saw it on YouTube. Some body language expert that worked with the FBI reviewed it and were like, this person is under duress and they're uncomfortable the whole time.
Yep.
That's one of the things that stuck out to me most is
Me
that,
too.
people are brave enough and willing to come forward with this, but they still have a lot to wrestle with, and their safety is a factor.
Yep. Most assuredly. John, anything that stood out to you in the congressional hearing?
I barely remember it because it was so close to at the end. It was immediately after PhenomeCon. So, we had so much other stuff going on, right then that I didn't actually see the hearing. I had to catch up. I think the most I learned from it was when we did an episode on it, or at least brought it up like back in September. So I don't, I honestly, I don't know what to think of it. I love George. George Knapp is fantastic. He even skipped out on PhenomeCon to be at that hearing, which was kind of a bummer because I'd love to see him in person again and chat. I think in general, it's a good thing that we're having those sorts of hearings. I wish they were more productive.
Yeah.
I think, and I think we talked about that before, that I think it was, not Burleson. Who's the other representative that just slipped my mind? Burchett. He was saying, some of these people, the people say, hey, we should have these people come and testify. He's like, well, would they testify to anything new? Are they going to tell us anything we haven't already heard? And if they're not, what's the point of bringing them in?
And will they be hostile?
Exactly.
Well, that too. I mean, I think there are a handful of people that we absolutely would love to hear from in that setting that would not in any way, shape, or form want to be there. And I don't know what sort of hearing that would result in, I think the good stuff that we really want to know is never going to be in a public hearing. That's my worry, is the stuff that we really want to know is going to be in a closed hearing. It's going to be in a skiff. It's probably anyway. So I don't know what else to say. I wish I guess one of the problems we have with the people, I have to figure out how to phrase this correctly. I think there are a lot of whistleblowers out there right now, and I'm not going to even bother naming names, but there are a lot of whistleblowers and people similar, you know, whistleblower light, who that term should be in air quotes when you talk about these people. And
Right.
we in the public have no way to know what the truth of any of this stuff is. And I worry that there are some people taking advantage of this type of process and using the hearings to just get their name out there
For their own personal
yeah,
gain.
they have ulterior motives. Again, I'm not going to go into names, but that's just another thing I kind of am starting to worry about, that there are some bad actors that are using this process to insert themselves into the greater UAP topic. It's a worry of mine. I don't know. I don't know where that goes. I don't know what the "and then" is for that statement. It's just something that concerns me.
Understandable. Jeff, how about you? Did you have any takeaways from the congressional hearing?
Well, kind of going on to what John Stratton said was that, the whistleblowers are important and the eyewitnesses are important. Being able to safeguard them is the big thing. For people to come forward and talk about this kind of stuff. It used to be, and hats off again to uh um um now I've forgotten his name.
We're all losing our minds, Jeff.
Well, I mean, somebody who puts his reputation on the line and did put his reputation on the line many, many years ago as a radio host. Now you know who I'm trying to think of his name.
George Knapp.
George Knapp. Thank you. I don't know how I could forget his name. But somebody who put his reputation on the line many years ago because he felt it was that important. And yet look at him now. I mean, so but for people to come forward and talk about this sort of thing, especially those with their safe, not only their personal safety on the line, their reputations on the line, their job in some cases on the line, their families on the line, to come forward and talk about this. Are we ever going to get to that point when they can feel free and comfortable to come out and talk about it? I don't know. As we've talked about before, even though we have these congressional hearings, in much to John Nyberger's point here was that it's going to be in a skiff. Are we going to hear the true, all the things that we really want to hear? Probably not. But with that said, I do think we have achieved or have been able to obtain a lot of good information from the hearings. And that is great. Now, people are going to sit here and still to this day, they're going to listen to that and they're going to go, I don't know. He could be, like you said, into this for their own reasons or whatever. But I think that we have learned a lot from these hearings. A lot of information has come from them, and I think that is paramount. We need to. Are we ever going to get those details? No. But the big thing too, going forward from this, is where's the evidence? Where's the yes, you can say whatever you want, and some people like, and I'm going to throw your dad out here, John Stratton. I'm going to throw your dad out here and say that when he says what he says about this, I believe him. I really do. And I think
Mhm.
the majority of people would believe him as well. But there's going to be a lot of people out there going, no, I don't know. Maybe,
Yeah.
because they don't know him or
Yeah.
whatever. So, but I think it's good. The hearings are a way for the whistleblowers to come forward and talk about things. But again, how safe do they honestly feel in the
Right.
end, doing that? Me, I would get out there and talk about it because what do I have to lose, right? But I mean,
Right.
for some of those people have a lot to lose. So
Yeah.
that's a scary thing, and it puts them, I can see where a lot of people wouldn't want to do it because of that.
It really is because, uh, it's especially if as we're starting to learn that some of the more abstract aspects of the UAP phenomenon really do seem to be gaining more and more credibility. Whether we're talking about NHI or whatever the case may be. And we've got so many people in positions of direct knowledge, and that's the key right there. They have direct knowledge of having been able to get to the bottom and determine do we really have these legacy UFO programs? And the way that I would answer that question is that we have enough credible people, again, with direct knowledge. In other words, intelligence officials, high-ranking intelligence officials. We have a current Secretary of State who was a former senator in Marco Rubio, who still stands by the statements that he made in the Age of Disclosure documentary. And we'll get to the documentary here in just a moment. But I agree with what all of you have said. I think the hearings are important. I don't necessarily want them to stop, but at the same time, what are we going to be able to bring forward that hasn't already been said before and that we haven't heard before? Now, is that to say that I don't think that there's stuff out there that we haven't heard yet? No, I think there probably is. I think there's probably a lot more stuff out there that we're not even aware of. But as you were saying, Jonn, there are so many people that have come forward, um, and I am going to name a name or two. But Matthew Brown would be a great example with the, um, oh gosh, what's immaculate? I'm gonna say,
Constipation.
yeah, that too. Immaculate Constellation. Um, very, very compelling bit of narrative on Immaculate Constellation. And I think that George Knapp and Jeremy Corbell did a really fascinating interview. For me, the jury is still out on the accuracy and if what Matthew Brown was saying was true and what may have been, put in his way along the, I think the term is passage they use in the intelligence community, where they're purposely seeding something to see where a leak is going to happen and how maybe testing how faithful and loyal somebody is to the NDAs and oaths that they took. So, and I also still kind of feel that way somewhat about Bob Lazar. I still think a lot, at the very least, I think that Bob Lazar genuinely believes what he's come forward and said. Now, how much of it really is what he claims that it is, I don't know. But that's kind of the inherent risk involved with this particular topic is there's so many people, like you said, Jonn, that want to be in the spotlight. There are some that are clearly driven by ego. And one name in particular that I am not going to name, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. I think we all know who I'm talking about, that just feel that the whole UAP thing is their baby, that it's their, that they're the only arbiters of genuine information and truth. When what we're seeing in this is that the truth, instead of being objective as truth is supposed to be, a lot of times it seems that so-called truth that's brought out tends to be more subjective and open to personal interpretation. Because we've seen a lot of things. Remember, this year started off with Ross Coulthart doing this, playing up this big thing about, what ended up being Jake Barber and Skywatcher. And I haven't been paying attention. I know there's been some drama behind the scenes going on with Skywatcher and all these promises that were made of things that they were going to bring out, and lo and behold, not a lot of that has come to fruition. So the thing that I've learned with all this is not to hold your breath. When somebody says that something is coming and that it's going to rock your world and it's going to shake the world to the foundation, thinking back since 2017, the only thing that has honestly done that for me, two things. Number one would be the New York Times article in December of 2017, and the other is Age of Disclosure. So on that note, let's talk about Age of Disclosure. And here we are. We're exactly to this day, we are 1 month away from its release. We're since it's released. So today, 30 days ago, was when Age of Disclosure finally was released to the public. And so the thing about Age of Disclosure, my observations, and then I'll turn it over to each of you to make some remarks on it. But in the 4 or so weeks since Age of Disclosure has been out, it had the distinction of being the number one rental and the number one purchase on Amazon Prime Video for over a week. And if I'm not mistaken, it is still the #1 best-selling documentary of all time on the Amazon Prime Video platform, which is probably one of the biggest video platforms in the world. So that's no small accomplishment. The other thing that I see that Age of Disclosure has done is very, very well executed and put together news segments by mainstream media sources like CNN. CBS News did a phenomenal little segment about it, and the biggest surprise to me is that almost all of these were speaking favorably about the documentary. They were all equally as blown away and impressed as each of us were when we watched it. And I mean, a great example, Colin Cowherd, okay, who is a sports guy. He is a sports podcaster. He's very well and highly regarded in the sports, media. And he devoted an entire show to the Age of Disclosure. He brought Dan Farah, the director of Age of Disclosure, on, and that was not on my bingo card. Colin Cowherd, of all people, dedicating an entire episode. And then we've got, let's run down the list here. Joe Rogan, one of the best Joe Rogan episodes I've seen in a long time, if not ever, was he brought Dan Farah on before it was released to talk about it. And Dan gave us some really cool behind the scenes information that was not in the documentary that was really fascinating and compelling. But I've said it before, the Jake Tapper interview was fantastic, and these are organizations where in the past they will start off the segment, with the X-Files theme or the Twilight Zone, or they'll throw in the little jabs about little green men or little gray men. And that did not happen this time around. And it was really cool for me. I had a huge swell of pride seeing Johnny's dad on some of these programs talking about the documentary. So I think this documentary is still I mean, I'm every time I watch it, I pick up on something new. And here's the other thing that I've mentioned in the past with the documentary. I know of at least, I think I'm up to 20, 22, 23 people right now that I, just by my word of mouth alone, went and bought. They took the jump and they bought it on Amazon Prime. And at least 5 of those people were not UFO guys at all. In fact, the promise I made to them was, hey, buy this, and if you're so disappointed, let me know. I'll refund your money. I'll give you the 20 some odd dollars back, because that's how confident I am. Every single one of them said, this just might be one of the most compelling and best documentaries I've ever seen. And if you had told me, because they're like, we went into this just thinking this is all ridiculous and nonsense. It's all, just a sham. And they are all taking this topic seriously now. And I think that is what's starting to happen. I think that Age of Disclosure has opened up a whole new chapter, a whole new phase of this overall topic of UAP disclosure. And I think Dan Farah and everybody that was involved in making the documentary, they hit a certifiable grand slam with this one. Not a home run, a grand slam, as far as how much traction it's gaining. And I am so that to me is probably the high watermark for me for the year, for all the things we're talking about today. That's just my 2 cents. So Jonn, how about you? What are your thoughts so far now that we're 30 days in since the release of Age of Disclosure?
I echo a lot of what you said. I think it has massively succeeded in its goal, which was to get this topic out in front of people who don't normally think about this. We've never had this type of media reaction to this topic. Like 100% of the shows that I've seen, the interviews have been positive. There's been no, like you said, none of the little green men, none of the X-Files themes, no one trying to make fun of these people. Every single one of them has been taking it seriously. And this is, like you said, Fox News, CNN, CBS, Joe Rogan, Colin Cowherd. I mean, it's just everywhere you turn, Dan Farah is popping up talking about this, and everyone's taking it seriously. Oh, Bill Maher. I mean, you name
Right.
it. Um, I think it's amazing. And a lot of people are still really irritated. They're like, the where's the evidence? The where's the evidence crowd is still upset about it. But
Yeah.
that I think the purpose of the movie was to get it to broaden the exposure of this topic, get more people
Yep.
interested in it, to get more pressure on Congress and government so that we actually can get something done. And I think it's succeeding in that. I mean, at long term, we'll see what happens, but in the short
Right.
term, it's obviously that it's succeeding.
Yep. Jeff, your thoughts?
Well, I thought that this was awesome, but like you said, there was a lot of people that came back later that I had told about it. They said, well, they didn't show us any evidence. Well, you took you have people that are coming out there that are very credible people. Let me just, and I kind of ask them this question. Okay, you've heard of Project Blue Book, right? Yeah. Well, if you had J. Allen Hynek come out and say, and do it was be interviewed, and he came out and he said, "Yep, they're real. I found them. Many of the cases that we found, they had stuff, and we went out and we saw the craft, we saw the alien bodies." Would you have believed him? And then now you have the person that was heading up the UAP task force coming out and saying, "I've seen him. I've seen this. I've seen that." Do you believe him? Why would he lie? He's putting everything on the line. And so, so they think about that for a second. Well, maybe. Okay. Well, they're not going to, are we ever going to see, the alien craft, non human intelligence? Are we ever going to see this? Are we going to see the bodies? Probably not, at least not in the foreseeable future. But to have these people that were involved, they were front and center in the government investigation into this stuff, telling you that it's real, and you still don't want to believe it. I mean, come on. I just want
Yeah.
Preach, preach, Jeff. Preach, Brother
Exactly.
Freeman.
Yes. Testify. Testify.
I know. It just amazes me that they still are hesitant to believe it. And I'm like, Now, granted, there may be some politicians in there that were talking about certain things. And are you going to, you may or may not agree with that politician in their politics. You may not like that person or whatever. You think they're not telling the truth. Now they're telling you this and you want to believe them? That was the way I was presented with this. And I said, "Well, you know what? How many were there? There were 34 people that were interviewed in the age of disclosure, and they all testified to their, what they were willing to talk about in there. And even if you had, I don't know, you just can't take that many people telling you basically the same thing, and how important this is for our own safety, and you're still hesitant to believe it. So I find that hard to believe. I like I said, I don't know that we're ever going to get the hard, the physical evidence. We're not going to, I would love to. I would love to have them show us uh, pieces of a spacecraft that were recovered, or but there was videos out a while back. I don't know if you guys remember this, of alien bodies being autopsied, and yet
Yeah.
most people, I don't know if that was real or not. I have no idea. And yet a lot of people are going, "No way that was real. Absolutely not."
Yeah.
And if they showed you pieces of an alien spacecraft that they have today, and they said, "Okay, we're going to show you. Here's the rear section of this, thing here, and here's the outside skin of it. No rivets, no anything. Are there going to be people that would not believe it?
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, yes. Even if the mothership showed up over Washington D.C., are there going to be people that would not believe it? Yes.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't know where we're at. I mean, until we are actually, um, you know, uh, I don't want to use the word invaded, because I don't believe that's what's going to happen. I believe if that were going to happen, it would have
Yeah.
already have happened. But so if they were just walking among us all the time and we saw the ships flying by all the time and everything would, is it going to take that for you to understand and believe that this is really happening now? The one thing I was going to say about Skinwalker Ranch also in this, Skinwalker Ranch is that privately funded program going on that is investigating kind of the same very thing, in many ways. And we've seen UAP activity on Skinwalker Ranch. Now you're getting this. does that not make Skinwalker Ranch more important now than it was
Absolutely.
before to everyone? I think it
100%.
I
Yes.
think it does. So that's kind of my take, but I know we can talk about we talked about it
We
for a
did.
while
Yep.
on my show, and we talked about it
2
for a
days
while.
in a row.
Yep. Yep. I love
Yes,
that.
indeed.
I love that Heineck analogy though, because you know what the answer is. The answer is no. They wouldn't believe him if he came out and said that.
Probably not.
Because those people that say that will never be satisfied. They absolutely
None are so blind as those who can see but refuse to. Johnny, how about you? What are your assessment? 30 days into the age of disclosure. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What do you think?
Well, firstly, I'm going to bolster the point that Jeff just made about Skinwalker Ranch's importance. If we look at Age of Disclosure, you notice there's a couple people in common with Age of Disclosure and with Skinwalker Ranch. So that really should just, reinforce the fact that there might be something going on and some integrity to that investigation as well. But no, 30 days out, for some reason, it both feels like it's been a year since it's come out, and it feels like it's been a week since it's come out.
Yep.
Totally.
I've had people come up to me and talk to me about it. I've had conversations about it with people, and for the first couple weeks, I didn't get anything negative from anybody. It had all been positive. And I mean, just this week, okay, so your dad saw little green men. Okay. Nothing is going to satisfy that person. They're just like, what a bunch of crackpots, these people don't know anything. They're all a bunch of idiots. And I'm like, do you know any of these people? They don't know any of these people. They don't have any clue. So no matter what we do, we're never going to satisfy that crowd. We could do grand, catastrophic disclosure. Those people are still not going to believe it.
Yep.
So, you're never going to be able to please those people. But I've been really happy with the not just national but more international response that this film has had, where the credibility to the topic is building, the stigma is decreasing, and I think that we're going forward going to see a lot more normalizing of the topic. That's
I agree.
my
That's what
biggest
needs to happen.
takeaway is the
100%.
normalizing of this topic. Because, I mean, I hurt my credibility every day just by being in this topic to certain crowds of people. And, with my professional life, sometimes, it could be pretty bad because there will one day be a day that I could be sitting in court and some attorney is going to start asking me questions about this stuff to discredit me.
To discredit you.
Towards what I'm dealing with on a professional basis. Am I prepared for that? I am. Am I going to probably come off as a little, let's say, brash? Yes. Because I will probably know more about the topic and say it politically enough to not get held in contempt of court. But I will push that threshold one day, I'm sure.
And we will all be there cheering you on, brother.
Absolutely.
100%.
That's my takeaway for Age of Disclosure. I look forward to the next step and what's coming next. And Dan has hinted on Joe Rogan and in a few other things that there is more coming. There is other things.
Yeah.
And even stuff that I didn't know about. I didn't know he was planning on potentially making a series about my dad's life. I found out about it through an interview online.
I didn't know this either. This is news to
I-
me.
This is news to me. Wow. That's,
Did you just spill the beans, Johnny?
Wow.
He said it on some major interview that he did, and I'm like, wait, what did he say? And I rewound and listened to it again, and I go, I feel like I should have known about that already.
But what have you told us all along, Johnny, that you're usually one of the last people to find out about these things, right?
Usually I am, and that's the funny thing is, I found out when his book is coming out through an interview that Dan did.
So Dan's the leak. Dan is a leaker.
Dan is the leak.
He's worse than Travis Taylor.
Clearly. If y'all ever end up in a room with Travis, what I absolutely love about this guy is he'll have a really serious conversation, and he does not leak information. He doesn't do anything like that. Nothing dangerous.
Nope.
But every now and then when he's in a room of people that are within a certain, circle of trust, so to speak, he'll say something and go, well, you know what? Maybe we shouldn't talk about that. And it's just like, okay, buddy, you know, Travis is great, but he doesn't leak things. But
No,
every
he
now
does
and then,
not. He doesn't.
he
That's
knows
our
who he
Dr.
can talk
Taylor.
around. He knows who
Yep.
he can talk around. But it's funny just to see him go, you know, the gears kind of lack grease for a moment, and he goes, oh boy, let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. Folks, it has been such a joy to watch Age of Disclosure and to watch it doing exactly what it set out to do, which is to start conversations. And more specifically, to start conversations among people that normally don't pay attention to this particular topic. People that never really gave it more than a passing glance or considered it a fringe topic are now, especially when people know that I have the interest in it that I do. I've had at least a couple friends in the last few weeks that have seen the documentary like, well, Jimm, you sure don't seem as crazy as I thought you were before after I've watched this film. They're like, they're like, I had no idea that all this stuff was going on. So imagine, where this has yet to go. And like you all have said, part of the downfall to this overall topic is because there have been so many bad actors in the past and so many people that have made promises that they had no business making, fabricating stuff just to make something seem more interesting, sensationalizing things. And that's, again, to your point about Skinwalker Ranch, Johnny, that's the thing that I love about Skinwalker Ranch is that they don't have to sensationalize everything because it naturally does that anyway. And whether people decide to accept that and believe it is entirely on them. And that's the way that I leave it with Age of Disclosure, is that I think it is one of the most useful tools that we have to mainstream the conversation. Ask people if they've seen the documentary. And if they haven't, encourage them to do it because I guarantee you they are going to, at the very least, feel that it was worth their time to at least hear that particular side of everything that comes out. Because what we do see in Age of Disclosure is something that we do not see hardly anywhere else, and that is true bipartisanship in the United States government. We are seeing senators and congressional representatives that on any other topic are fighting like cats and dogs. They are sworn enemies. And when it comes to the UAP topic and getting to the bottom of these mysteries and figuring out what's going on with the legacy programs and all this lack of congressional oversight, they are truly unified. Now, there are still some outliers in the Senate that just simply won't have any of it. And it comes down to that same old thing that we've talked about before, which there are some people that their worldview does not and cannot accommodate the possibility of such things being real. And if they are, then they are things that we shouldn't dabble and meddle in. And we've covered that ad nauseum on this podcast. And it's for those people that I think, number one, could potentially be setting themselves up for a very rude awakening. If we ever have another mass sighting event like the Phoenix Lights and the phenomenon decides to just tip its hand so that the government has no choice. But either way, the big point for me with Age of Disclosure is what you all touched upon, which is it started the conversation. And there has been, somebody once said it to me, and it might have been your mom, Johnny, that strength in numbers. There's a strength in the number of people that we see coming forward, like Jay Stratton, like Hal Puthoff, Lou Elizondo, and Travis Taylor, and all these people that we saw come forward that are really the best possible character witnesses you could have for something like this. And I'm jealous that Jonn, you got to see it so much, uh, so length of a time before any of us did, but you were not underselling it, uh, or at all. I mean, I remember when we asked you what you thought, you're like, wow, it's the best documentary of its type, and it exceeded every bit of my expectations that I had. So
Only of its type.
You know
Right.
what? Dan Farah gave me crap about that. So
Oh, I know. I know.
So I said that as soon as it was over. I'm sitting between Jay and Travis. As soon as it's over, I tell Jay, like, that's the best documentary of its type I've ever seen. So then he goes up to do the Q&A, and he's like,
Of its type.
well, no, it gets better. So everyone in my row goes up to the front to do the Q&A. Jay says, yeah, a friend of mine just told me that, or he said, this is the most important documentary of its kind. So half the crowd turns and looks at me, and I'm like this dork sitting in the back who knows nothing. But then afterward, Dan comes up and he's like, what do you mean of its type? Don't you mean best ever?
Right.
I'm like, sorry, Dan.
Yeah. Well, if I could add one last thing on that too, for my part,
Sure.
is that one thing that scares me a little bit is that, for so many years that we thought that government as a whole knew about the UAPs, non-human intelligence, and if possible, the biologics. But then we find out through the age of disclosure, or I did anyway, that Congress, and quite honestly, even the president, didn't know anything about it, or knows very little.
Right.
And so that's what, Schumer and,
Rounds.
yeah, what they were trying to, right. They were trying to get going, to in this legislation to get passed. I must say I'm a little bit fearful of that. So often things get put into those kind of things that, shouldn't be there. And I'm afraid that, and what they want, I think is what they want is they want not only to know about it, they want to know all about anything that has been recovered, whether it be bodies or craft or technology of any type. They want to know about that. And I'm afraid they also want to control it. And
Of
that scares
course.
that
Yeah.
scares me. I do want them to know. I do want them, but I want them also to let us know. And I'm afraid that if they all get that power to know what's going on and they have it, then we will never, it could be taken away. We'll never know, at that point too. So is this a step in the right direction? I think it is, but it also let me know that they don't know, but they want to know and they want to control it. And so that part kind of scares me a little bit. So,
And
but we
that's
have to
just
continue.
such a
We have to get on.
fantastic point. Like, it really is. As a patriot, I want Congress to be able to do their job.
Yeah,
They control
absolutely.
they have the power of the purse, they control the funding. The money that they're allocating is going to these things. They have a right and honestly a duty to know about it. But the other part of me is exactly like what you just said. I'm fearful that they want to control it as well.
Yep.
And control what we as the American people and, people of the whole world get to
Yep.
know.
Yep.
Yep. Excellent points, both of them. So let's switch gears here and talk about a fun subject that we don't talk about much here on the Soul of the Unexplained, and that is another really compelling and fascinating docuseries, Expedition Bigfoot, right, Jeff?
Yeah.
And we had the most recent season of Expedition Bigfoot aired at the beginning of 2025, and there was a notable change in the team of Expedition Bigfoot. Somebody that had been there from the very beginning is no longer with the team, and of course that would be Ronnie LeBlanc. And just all kinds of cool things are developing with the team. And Jeff, what are just kind of a quick overview? What were some of the big takeaways that you had from this most recent season of Expedition Bigfoot?
Well, I think for me, the finding of some of the nests. I know I was really taken away by the nesting, and then turned it and looking at, rather than seeing Bigfoot as a solitary creature, cryptid that's walking around in the forest or whatever, and he's doing his thing by himself. Lone wolves, a bunch of lone wolves out there, talking about them being family units. And I think that's some of the things that people have talked about, I would say the people that have had experiences, they've seen things, have talked about, oh yeah, I seen like a juvenile and mother and father or whatever, seemed like family units. And then when you see the nesting that some of them have allegedly made, you see the in the sizing or whatever of that sort of thing. So I think that that's one of the big things that I kind of got from what they did find some nest. We don't know if those nests were made by Bigfoot creature. They could have been made by, people out in the woods trying to put these things together, but there was no evidence of that. That they were made by, just people trying to hoax them or whatever. And did they even know that these guys were out there investigating in the first place to put them there way ahead of time? So I think that was an interesting thing for me in the migration about how they would migrate up to Alaska area and then back down into California, back up through Washington and all that through the migration. You would think that if there was a migration happening and there was quite a few of these, but cryptids out there, they would be seen by now. Um, but I think that not only that was one of my big takeaways was this family unit and the migration of these creatures going from north to south based upon the seasons. That was a big takeaway for me. But another was also still working on this idea that they have some sort of a means of camouflage that we are yet to understand.
Right.
And this is something that Mike Owen and I, when we talk about the episodes, we went through this quite thoroughly, but how they can disappear on a dime. You could be following one with a thermal camera, and then all of a sudden, boom, he's gone, just like he walked behind a door or into a door that you didn't see. That's happened many times, and not only in people that have witnessed it, but also on the show. It happened right on the show. They were
Yeah.
following this
Yep.
guy walking what looked like a creature on two legs walking along, and then just like there was no woods there, and he just disappeared. He didn't bend down, didn't fall on the ground, nothing like that, just gone, simply gone in an instant as he was walking. And you wonder what type of, I'm going to say natural, because some people feel that they might be, connected with UFOs, might be alien in some form, being beamed down, beamed up, stepping into a portal, whatever, through some sort of technology. I think it might be more natural because you think about creatures on this planet that can do that. You take the octopus, for instance, can develop and change to its environment, look like a rock under water or whatever. So is it a stretch to say that a Bigfoot type creature could not do that through natural means? I think they possibly could, and that would explain so much. So that
Mhm.
was kind of some of my big takeaways. How are they disappearing and appearing at will? And the family unit and the migration that was seemed to be going on. That was kind of my big takeaways from their last season. Can't wait for, I mean, they've already filmed another one, I guess, and we're just waiting
Yeah.
for it to come out, but we haven't seen it yet.
That
So
was my next question was, I know that they filmed another season, but I haven't heard anything about a renewal, about, whether the network was gonna renew Expedition Bigfoot, because that would be really disappointing if they did not renew it, because the thing I like about Expedition Bigfoot is the approach that they use is not at all dissimilar from the approach that the Secret of Skinwalker Ranch uses, in the
exactly.
sense that
Yep.
it's all scientific driven, and we've all had the pleasure and privilege of having met Dr. Maria Mayor and also Russ Acord, and these people are doing it for the right reasons. And
Yes, I agree.
Maria, in particular, is really staunch in her position on making sure that it is driven by the scientific method, and that she is trying to check off all the boxes and not try to go down the woo factor, if you will. But just as we've seen on The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, sometimes you have to take that woo into consideration
Absolutely.
when everything else seemingly appears to fail the description and the attempts to explain some of the extraordinary things that you're seeing. And Jonn, I think that you actually, when we talked about this briefly in one of our previous episodes of the podcast, that you thought that if there was anything to the Sasquatch being a real thing, that maybe it was interdimensional and had the ability to jump in and out of our dimension or our reality, whatever you want to call it. And I tend to kind of lean that direction as well. And interestingly enough, somebody that I had tremendous respect for, who was considered one of the world's foremost credible experts on not only primatology, but also just studying the whole aspect of relic hominids and whatnot. Dr. Jeff Meldrum, based out of a university here in Idaho, just not even 90 minutes away from where I live. We lost Dr. Meldrum, sadly passed away just a couple of days after PhenomeCon wrapped up, as a matter of fact. And he was supposed to present at PhenomeCon this year. And we got the word early on, as PhenomeCon began, that Dr. Meldrum wouldn't be attending. But I wanted to take a moment just to kind of recognize and pay some respects to Dr. Meldrum. He's another gentleman that I got to meet and talk with a number of times, thanks to PhenomeCon. I got to he came to a number of them, and the presentations that Dr. Meldrum always did at PhenomeCon were just what you would expect from a college professor. It was all business. Um, it was all, he laid out it was like somebody making a case in court, which I loved, because he was putting out all this scientific data and this hard physical evidence that he had to formulate his theories. And he was extremely open-minded, but very rigorous, just as Dr. Mayor happens to be with investigating this. And while Dr. Meldrum did not think, he did not pay an awful lot of likelihood to the interdimensional aspects that some of us believe with Sasquatch, he did believe that there likely is some kind of unknown bipedal, creature of some kind that fits all the descriptions of Bigfoot that go back clear to the time before, white European settlers were in North America, and the Native Americans, the First Nations people, were all these stories that have been passed down for centuries. Um, and there's a lot of commonality to all these reportings. But Dr. Meldrum is somebody who I greatly appreciated. He was an absolute gentleman of a man, if you ever had the chance to meet him. He had a wonderful sense of humor, and he will be greatly missed. I enjoyed his presentations, and I know that the field of Bigfoot research lost an absolute giant of a man when Dr. Meldrum passed. Any of you want to offer up your thoughts or comments on Dr. Meldrum or the Bigfoot phenomenon before we wrap up? Jonn, by chance?
I didn't know him. I really didn't know much about him. But regarding the Bigfoot phenomenon in general, it's interesting. I have a friend who's extremely into Bigfoot. Like, he is 100%, like, that's one of his absolute top interests. But he is also 100% in the camp that it's just a, mostly undiscovered hominid, totally natural. And I get it. I get why people would want to think that. I don't know what to think, honestly, but if you want to fall into that camp, that means you truly are dismissing probably at least half, if not more than half, of witness reports, because so many of them detail, oh, it was there, I saw a flash of light, and then it was gone, or it just disappeared, or
Right.
it suddenly seemed like there was this cloaky thing there, and then we couldn't see it anymore, or stuff like that. We at some point, if you're going to take the subject seriously, you can't assume necessarily that all of these people are lying about what they saw.
Right.
You kind of have to start leaving room for, okay, maybe reality is way stranger than we think, right? And we already agree on that, right? It doesn't matter if you're talking UAPs, NHI, Skinwalker
Yep.
Ranch. We already know there's something
Jonn,
going on. Raiders fans.
I'm a Raiders fan. I have. What is this reality you keep talking about?
I'm doing my best, man. I'm gonna start shipping you some Broncos merch.
Oh, don't you dare.
But
Johnny, how about you? Or sorry, go ahead, John.
no,
Wrap up.
I think that's it. You know, it just I think once you accept the fact that reality might be stranger than any of us expects, then maybe that does allow you to open up your mind a little bit. I mean, you don't want to open up your mind so much that your brain falls out, right? I like to say that you still have to be skeptical, but
I think pretty sure my brain fell out back in September, and I'm still
I,
trying to figure out
I
how to
think it
put it
did.
back.
Yeah, I think it did. It's at that gas station.
That's
on the
right.
ground.
Whoa, there's an incident I haven't heard about. Okay,
Oh, you didn't know about that?
Maybe we should
Johnny,
wait till we're off air and talk about that.
yeah. Johnny, how about you?
Well, I had a professor that said this all the time, and he would say that reality is reality as you perceive it, and
Yeah.
everyone has their own reality. So everyone, like I just said, can have their own existence of Bigfoot in their own sense of reality. I do personally subscribe to the theory about, extra dimensional, however we want to say that, just through some personal encounters of things that would suggest that that's possible, but I've never
Right.
had a Bigfoot encounter. I will make that clear.
Yet.
That exactly yet. My goal is to one day go out with the Hanks brothers and we'll search for Bigfoot or something. I think that could be fun.
I want to go on
Yeah,
that.
we're
That
all
would be-
there.
Yeah.
We're all signing
Yeah,
up
I'm
for
there.
the Hanks hunting party expedition.
The wafer
Wafer-
files.
the wafer
you know.
expedition.
The way for fun. There you go.
The wafer files.
There you go.
But what I will say to what Jeff was talking about earlier with the possible Bigfoot being able to defeat thermal imaging that's, trying to track it, so to speak, is thermal imaging useful in a lot of ways. However, it's very, very easy to defeat thermal imaging. And Bigfoot have at their disposal, the most easy way of defeating thermal imaging technology that exists. In fact, it's one of the most effective ways. And for those of you that loved action movies, especially in the 80s, there's a scene
Predator.
with Predator where he's searching for the hero who's covered head to toe in mud. Guess what thermal imaging actually cannot penetrate? Mud.
Ground. Yeah.
Mud.
So if Bigfoot, which is a big furry creature by our understanding, probably already covered in some mud, covers itself head to toe in mud, it's dang near invisible to thermal imaging. So camouflage, yes. Is it intentional? Maybe. But how hard is it for a creature like that in the woods to get completely covered in mud? It's not hard. So
true.
that's kind of my theory about how thermal imaging is great, but it's not 100% going to work all the time for things like that.
That's true.
And, they're seeing issues of that because thermal imaging right now in the global warfare scheme, in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, thermal imaging is like the number one thing that they've been using. But people are using mud and mesh cloth, and both of those things right there do a really good job. Mylar does a really good job of blocking it. So granted, Bigfoot probably isn't walking around with a Mylar blanket and mesh camouflage netting, but those are just some pretty simple things that completely make thermal imaging
Oh,
ineffective.
I don't know, Johnny. I think Mick West would probably beg to differ that maybe it was Bigfoot wrapped in Mylar with what that jellyfish UFO probably
possible.
was.
Yeah.
It's possible. And that's part of the thing with spacecraft, with the reflection and refraction of heat is, thermal imaging doesn't really pick those up really either. It always comes back as like a neutral temperature.
Right. Right. Well, folks, I could prove once and for all that Sasquatch exists by removing my shirt, but there's public decency laws involved, and
Thank you for that.
I don't want to get delisted by YouTube. So
I do want to say one thing about Dr. Meldrum, if I may.
absolutely.
What an awesome person he was. I had the opportunity to meet him at PhenomeCon 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago, and talk to him a little bit there. got a little bit, and then I asked him, I said, "Hey, would you ever be willing to come on my podcast?" And I told him what we do and all of that. And of course, initially, sometimes people are a little bit reluctant when you tell them that. David Spade, Schrader, the same thing because they don't know what to expect of your podcast. Are you going to drill them? Are you there
Right.
to make them look silly or whatever?
Yeah.
Absolutely never going to happen on
Yep.
my podcast. But he didn't know that. So anyway, I talked to him about that. He said, "Let's talk." And I said, "Okay." So afterwards, we did talk. He did come on my podcast. I had a wonderful time with him. It was June of 2024. He came on the podcast, and I tell you what, it was one of the best ones that I've had a guest. I mean, I've had a lot of great guests, believe me, and you
You had
guys among.
Ryan Graves, dude.
I know.
I'm still jealous.
But, it was great, and it went over very well. It got, it actually got a lot of hits after he passed because people were Googling him, and it may have come up. Um, but I tell you what an awesome person. And he used his own scientific method in his way of dealing with. He had prints. Do you think he had a couple of Bigfoot prints, Jim?
He had a couple dozen, maybe.
Yeah, he had drawers full,
Couple
and
dozen thousand.
yeah, he had drawers full of them that people were submitting to him, but he used the scientific method to go by trying to find the fakes from the real thing and all of that. And I saw where he went out in the field a couple of times. There was a couple of little other people that had shows that he went out standing. He went out with standing one time and did a little investigation, and you could tell of his skepticism a little bit. Maybe not on the
Yeah.
Bigfoot area, but on what the other person was presenting as evidence, true evidence, which I think is perfect. But again, I don't want to take up too much time on that. But Dr. Meldrum, what an awesome person. I was so honored to have him on the podcast. And it's one of my favorites. And man, I wish I could have him on again. I mean, he was just a wonderful person and a great, in his field. He was great in his field. So I wish he was still around.
Amen. True that, brother. Appreciate that. So we'll wrap up our look back on 2025 today by talking about one of the funnest events, which sadly this year Jeff couldn't be there. But Jeff, you got to do something that was just probably pretty close, if not even maybe a little more fun for you, which was the Oak Island convention,
Convention.
the Oak Island Con, and it's so cool to see you taking involvement in that. And those of you that are fans of the TV show, the docuseries, The Curse of Oak Island. Jeff, I always say Jeff is the gold standard when it comes to podcasting, and quite literally, kind of tongue in cheek, he's definitely the gold standard with The Curse of Oak Island. And if you've never checked out Jeff's podcast before, folks, it's the J Free 906 podcast. We'll put a link to Jeff's podcast in the item description, the video description below. But really kind of cool to see you developing a convention for the people that are fans of treasure hunting and the Curse of Oak Island. Just real quickly, tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I first of all, I have to say, give a big shout out to Thomas Winterton because Thomas being involved in PhenomeCon, I reached out to him and asked him some do's and don'ts and ideas about putting together a convention. We were approached, or I was approached by a lady who is a very awesome organizer of such things to do that, and so we were able to do it. We talked to the folks at Oak Island and got their blessing on it, and we did our first one back in September, and I emceed it. Then it was myself and Tony Sampson. He's a diver for the island, and he has his own business with tours and stuff going on there. And he's also another TV. He's got some other TV stuff going on as well. But we put this thing together, and we kept it small the first year. It went very, very well. We had a great turnout. We had a lot of good positive feedback on it, and we have our second one scheduled for June of 2026, and it's already sold out. We sold out the entire thing in a week. And so we're going to do it again. It's bigger. We got more days and all of that, but it's been a really cool experience to go through and do that for them. We have a lot of the folks, just like I've been so fortunate in not only meeting all of you, but also meeting many of the people from Skinwalker Ranch, and they've all been, very willing to come on to the podcast and yours and mine both and talk to us and stuff. And same thing has happened with the Curse of Oak Island. I've had many of the uh, cast members of the show come on and talk, and they all went to the Oak Island Con or Oak Island Convention as well. Several of them. We have more coming this time for 2026. So it's been
Nice.
an awesome experience, and I'm honored. I tell you what, I know I throw that word around, but I really mean it deep down that I'm honored by the people that have come on, been willing to come and talk on our shows and all of that. And I know you probably feel the same way with the guests that you've had.
Yep.
And it just means we're doing something right. And I really appreciate that. But yeah, so we've sold out. Unfortunately, there is a wait list started for people who want to get on the wait list for anybody that might cancel. So,
Nice.
yeah, and then we're looking to have it grow again in 2027, even bigger. So, but I really have to do that shout out for Thomas Winterton because he gave me a lot of good advice, and I really do appreciate that.
So
We
where are
love
you having
Thomas
them?
here.
Pardon
Sorry.
me?
So where are you having these conventions?
They're in right there, just down the street. Actually, this one is right across the bay from Oak Island at the Oak Island Resort this year in June. It's the 25th, 26th, and 27th of June. It's right across the bay. Matter of fact, we're in the hotel. You can look out the window, and there's Oak Island right there. So it's right across basically just down the street from Oak Island, where you drive down Crandall to the island itself, and so, yeah, last year we were right across the street at the Legion Hall, but this year we're actually in the resort, so that's really cool.
That's awesome.
Nice.
I look forward to
That's
hearing
awesome.
about it.
All right,
Yeah,
cool.
we absolutely wish you the very best of success in
Thank you. Appreciate
moving
that.
that forward. And we've been such big fans of your podcast since the beginning,
I
and
appreciate that.
you
Thank
know
you.
we love the fact that we can come on each other's podcasts and
Yes.
talk about all the stuff that we're passionate about.
Yep.
And you have one of the best whenever you do your live streams on YouTube, your live chats are that's like one of the best parties in town. I love the special community that you built up with J Free 906, and someday maybe we'll get the Soul of the Unexplained to go into the live stream realm. But
Oh, it's a completely different experience.
oh,
It's so cool
I can
because you have the
imagine. Yeah.
interaction with everybody that's watching. It's really it adds a
Yep.
whole new element to it.
Yes, indeed. So let's just kind of wrap up our 2025 review, gentlemen. Talking about PhenomeCon just real quickly. For me, that was also, as always, every year. PhenomeCon is kind of what my calendar year revolves around. Not just because of all the great presentations and all the great things that we can learn, but more than anything, it's the connecting with the people and getting a chance to rekindle the old friendships that we made at previous PhenomeCons. And this last year, it just didn't feel complete not having Mr. Jeff Freeman there. Annie wasn't there to join us this year, and so there was definitely some things that were missing that we missed out on. But 2025 was an amazing year at PhenomeCon. Hitchhiker, the band that Jonn and I are in with Dr. Travis Taylor and Jay Stratton, Micah and Caleb Hanks. We performed again at PhenomeCon to close out the conference and had an absolute blast this time. We had a lot of fun doing that, and got to got to meet a lot of great people like Paul H. Smith and got to know him a bit. And his presentation was one of my absolute favorites. And those of you that have been fans of the podcast know that on my way home from PhenomeCon this last year, I had a bit of an accident, and I'm still struggling through it. It was what they called a traumatic brain injury. Uh, Surprised that I even had one to injure in the first place, as many of you know. But I still struggle with that quite a bit from day to day with some things, and most of my faculties thankfully have returned. But the holiday time here, I just got a little depressed. Got to where I was missing my mom and dad who passed away not too long ago. So I had a couple of days where I was feeling kind of blue and down, and then I got this nice little thing in the mail that was completely unexpected. And I don't know if the camera's going to show that, but it's
Yeah.
this really nice Christmas card that I got from the folks at PhenomeCon.
Nice.
that really, really made my day. And so I would like to extend my sincerest gratitude and appreciation to Bridget Lake and to Leisha and to Quinn and all of her team that make PhenomeCon happen. Thomas Winterton as well. Massive tip of the hat to Thomas because he sits on the board of directors for the PhenomeCon conference. And just really a tip of the hat to everybody that we crossed paths with at PhenomeCon this year. We had so much fun. It really is the can't miss event for this entire community. Now, there are other conventions and get togethers that are out there that cover the UAP topic, but this is still the one that I want to attend the most, if for no other reason than, and, obviously, folks, I'm a big fan of Skinwalker Ranch, and it's literally taking place in Skinwalker Ranch, their backyard. You got access to the whole team. They come out. You get to shake hands with them, get to meet them, get to have dinner with them if you want to do the add-on activities. And so this year was really, I keep saying each year gets better and better. And I keep saying I don't see how next year can possibly top how awesome this year was. But that's how 2025 was. It was so good to get to spend some time with Johnny. Johnny got to visit with me in my home, and I got to take him out to tacos at one of my favorite taco places here in
Love some
where I live.
Betos.
Betos, that's right. Carne asada. Jeff, where were you? We missed you.
I
Carne
know.
asada tacos. And getting to see John, of course, you're getting to hang out with you and just the camaraderie that we all have and that we share out there. It's 4-5 days of the absolute of the best time. That's it's what my calendar year continues to revolve around. And PhenomeCon 2026 has already been announced. Tickets for that will probably go on sale sometime end of February, March timeframe would be my guess. And guarantee you I'm going to be there, and hopefully Roger will be able to join us this year again as well. And Jeff, we would love to get you back at PhenomeCon if at all possible, brother. So I'm just saying.
I want to be there this time. Yes, for sure. I was really sad to miss it last year. It really was. But this year, hopefully, I'll be out there in the 1.6 gigahertz mobile unit,
Ooh,
camping there nearby. So
right on.
hopefully, yeah, that's our plan. It's in our plan for 2026.
Excellent, excellent. Johnny, any thoughts from you on looking back on PhenomeCon? Anything you want to mention on that real quick?
It's just a big family reunion to me, getting to
It
hang
is.
out with everybody. So, all of the crazy stuff that goes on, all of the stress that goes on with it, you kind of forget about that a little bit after, but then you remember the good pizza that we had, all that
Oh,
delicious food. Our trips, we're all a bunch of fat guys, so we do thoroughly enjoy the food.
I'm not
Um,
fat. I'm festively plump.
There you
Fluffy.
go.
but
Did you say fluff? Did you
I
call me fluffy?
don't know what you're
Oh,
talking
John.
about.
Shots fired, John.
dang.
Have you seen me? Give me a break.
I know. I don't have a lot of room to talk in that anymore, but
Well, you're doing
we
great.
we thoroughly just enjoy the time we get to spend with people, and I find it funny that I do get special access to things. I I can't deny that I do get a little bit of special access just because of being a member of the Stratton family, and what I just enjoy is it's an environment that those speakers, the people they bring in that are celebrities, they get to be normal people. You get to interact with them and have a great
Yep,
time. And I
yep.
never would have expected that, I wasn't just my father's son there when I'm talking to these people. It's they know me by name, they know who I am, and they're happy to see me hang
Hmm.
out. It's a totally different environment than what you would expect. So for people
Yeah.
who haven't been, I highly, highly recommend as soon as tickets go on sale, snag a ticket. As soon as you get your ticket, book a hotel because, oh my God, is it hard to get a hotel if you don't?
Oh, yes.
Yep.
Hotels are almost sold out already probably for that week because people bought them before their tickets. So, it's
Yeah.
an event that most people that are really into it, their calendars revolve around it. I don't want to say my calendar revolves around it, but I do kind of keep a block in that whole week to make sure I can try to be there.
Yes, sir. Indeed. John, thoughts from you on PhenomeCon before we wrap it all up?
No, it was great as usual, but it was weird. I mean, we're not joking. Without Jeff there, and our friend Annie wasn't there, Dennis wasn't there.
Right.
You know, a
Oh,
lot of the people
Dennis.
we're used to seeing weren't there, so that did kind of make it a little strange. But you know, the presentations were fantastic, and Ben Woodruff filling in for Eric was just absolutely
Yeah.
outstanding. You know,
Yes.
getting to hear Jay talk again. Yeah, and then just seeing everybody. It is a family reunion for us now. It's a special time. You know, it's practically in my backyard as well, since I'm from near there. So it's kind of neat being in a place that I've been, you know, 1,000 times in my youth anyway. It's kind of
Yeah.
cool. But it's a good
Yep.
time. It's really a special. It is. I'm with you. My year does kind of revolve around that week, you know, because as soon as it's over, you're already thinking about next year. You know, what's going to happen next year, and all the stuff that's
Yep.
going to lead up to it. Like between now and then, there's going to be a new Skinwalker Ranch season, and you know,
How many shots am I going to have to drink again?
like it was. Oh yeah, how many beers is Travis going to make me drink this time?
Oh.
Because
He
last
doesn't
time it
make
was
you
a
drink.
lot.
I'll
He
tell
doesn't
you
make
what.
you drink.
No,
He
no,
encourages
He'd
your
never-
own enthusiasm.
no.
That's
That's
right.
Micah. Micah
That's
Hanks.
right.
Micah Hanks is Micah and Caleb are bad influences too.
Oh,
Micah will just
yeah.
walk up to me with a beer and say, "Here, hold this for me," and then walk away. And then he goes and gets his own. I'm like, oh, I guess I'm drinking this one too. They're all.
And I get to be the designated driver.
That's right.
Ah,
That's right.
yes, there you go.
No, it was, and let's I mean, we got to give a shout out to Antica Forma,
Oh man.
that Italian restaurant, the best pizza and the most authentic Italian food that I've had west of the Mississippi. And of course, being a native New Yorker, having grown up in an extremely heavily populated Sicilian region of upstate New York, I know a thing or two about authentic Italian, and this place in Vernal nailed it.
Mhm.
And I just that's like one of the things I keep dreaming about. I'm keep saying to my wife, you know, we got to go out to Vernal. She's like, why? I'm like, because I want to go to Antica Forma. She's like, it's too many carbs. We can't do it.
Ah. Can't wait till you take me there next year.
Oh, we're going.
Yeah, so
we'll
If
definitely-
I
yeah.
can make it work in my diet, anybody can.
Yes.
Yep.
And the thing you got to try, Jeff, is their bruschetta, the best bruschetta I have ever
Man.
had in my life.
I'm in.
It's good.
Yes, it's
You
good.
will not have to drag me.
Right on. Well, gentlemen, let's go ahead and wrap up today's episode, and just final closing thoughts and remarks. And Mr. Nyberger, we'll start with you.
I would just like to say I think this has been a really interesting year. All the things that have happened, you know, the hearings, age of disclosure, all sorts of other things. But I think 2026 is going to be even stranger. So I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what happens.
Amen, brother. Johnny, how about you?
Well, no idea what's coming next year. We know a few things that are coming. I'm just, excited about what all has happened this year, because when we look back on it, there's actually just so much that's gone on over the last year. I mean, I didn't expect to be sitting on a podcast with anybody at any point, really. That's all happened within the last year. So,
Yes.
I'm just thankful that the year has been going by pretty well for, the majority of us. Few hiccups here and there for everybody. A few head knocks here or there too. But we're getting through it, and the next year is coming around the corner.
Yes, indeed. Well said. Mr. Freeman, closing thoughts and remarks from you, sir.
Well, I think, again, 2025 has been really an awesome year in many, many ways. Yes, there's been a few drawbacks, but I think overall it's been really cool. I love the age of disclosure coming out. I still feel very invigorated about continuing to talk about stuff. I talk about UAPs, UFOs, even more so now, because that was one of my big things about Age of Disclosure is when I got done watching it, I just felt the need to just keep talking about it. I
Yeah,
think that everyone,
right?
all of us need to keep that narrative going.
Keep that
That's the only way-
enthusiasm. Keep
Yeah.
that enthusiasm, brother. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and things, everything else that's gone on, with I hope we see Expedition Bigfoot come out again, but real soon because that's one I'm definitely missing. But yeah, it's just been a really, really good year, and I think 2026. I'm waiting for a book to come out soon, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of interesting things coming down the pike. So I'm really excited about this next year. I really am.
The first
Right
thing I
on.
have coming up this next year that I almost forgot about is again that cruise with Skinwalker Ranch.
Oh, yeah.
I wish we had more people going on that that I would know. But I just had to throw that plug back in there that's at least coming up. Couple weeks.
Yeah, that's
And you
soon.
better take lots of video and photos
Yes.
for us,
Yeah.
Johnny, because
I'm tempted to do more than just a couple photos and videos, and we'll see what I can make happen.
Can we
yes,
do
indeed.
you do a podcast on it, I think, right? I
I
mean,
have no idea if I can promise anything or any
okay.
of that
All right.
nature, but I'll try to bring equipment and see if I can try. Just
That would be
because
awesome. Even
Awesome.
if
you
you have
never
to
know.
pre-record it. Yeah, I mean, if you
I
can't
mean,
live
what
stream it, that's not a problem. Just
I,
yeah.
I I would not be able to live stream anything on there. I'm not going to have internet for a week. Basically, I'll be completely disconnected. But who knows? Maybe I can get one of the guys. We'll do a workout or something, and we'll joke around and record it. It could be fun.
That would be
It's
awesome.
yeah.
Yeah,
Love to see
most
it.
definitely. Well, gentlemen, I would like to just put my 2 cents on it and draw this to a close here. And the first thing I want to do is to raise my glass or my plastic bottle in this case to each of you and wish you all a very happy holidays. Those of you that celebrate Christmas, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Those of you that are of the Jewish faith, a very happy 8th day of Hanukkah today. And to those of you that celebrate other things such as the winter solstice, which happens to be today. So I wish you the best on that. And if you're a Kwanzaa person and anything else that's coming up, just be safe, be happy, be awesome, and hope you guys just enjoy life as much as you can. And more than anything, I want to offer my thanks and gratitude to each of you, John and Johnny and Jeff, for taking your time out of your Sunday to record this little podcast episode with us. And thanks for taking a trip down memory lane of the year that has been 2025. It has been a very interesting year filled with all kinds of exciting things and a few painful moments for some of us anyway. And want to issue just give a shout out to our brother Roger here who can't be with us today. Roger, we miss you. We're all still praying for you and hope that you can join us very
Absolutely.
soon. And we wish you and your wife and your family and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas as well. And really, that's it, folks. Just thank you for everything. And we'll be back very soon with another episode of The Soul of the Unexplained. And joining us on our next episode, we've got Austin Burgess and Caleb Hanks of the Ghosts in the Mountains podcast coming to talk to us about
Nice.
all kinds of spooky things. And folks, I can guarantee you there's going to be a language warning on that episode. Simply because we're bringing the Dino Beaver back, right?
I'm so excited.
I am too. It's going to be a blast. So, folks, if you like what you saw, just if you do us a favor and hit that subscribe button below if you haven't yet, and give us a like because we like likes, and hit us up in the comments. Tell us what some of your favorite moments of 2025 were. What are the things that you liked? What are you looking forward to in 2026? And yeah, just if nothing else, say hey, right? But thank you, folks, truly and sincerely. And signing off on behalf of John and Johnny and Mr. Jeff Freeman, we want to wish you all the very best. So we'll see you next time right here on The Soul of the Unexplained. See ya.